Sports, a bridge that brings people together. And here in the Commonwealth, it's no different. From the gridiron to the hardwood and beyond, we all have a team we love to talk about. Now for the teams you care about, here's Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice.
And welcome back into Heartland Sports Live. It's another Monday, which means for the next hour, we will be talking area sports. From football, basketball is in full session. We're going to talk about all the area teams, including the Hardin County teams coming up this hour, including a couple of interviews with coaches. How about the defending 17th District champion coaches from a year ago? Jared McCurry, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs, coming up this hour. Also, Donnie Sweeney, the head basketball coach for the Elizabethtown Lady Panthers. Those interviews coming up a little bit later this hour as Trevor Rice in with you. It's Heartland Sports Live, and of course, we're always on 106.1 FM, 1400 AM, and live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. You can also go and download every show. This show should be uploaded tomorrow. I have a link on my Twitter account at Radio Trevor Rice. You can go there for the Apple Podcast and download every show and listen to it on the go. Well, yesterday, Wildcats fans, Hilltoppers fans, Cardinals fans, all getting their teams announced and where they will be going for the 2019 bowl season. And the Louisville Cardinals, for the 9th time out of the last 10 seasons, will be going and playing a bowl game once again, taking on a team out of the SEC. A good challenge for this Cardinals team, going to 7-5 in the regular season, and they will be taking on Mississippi State in the Music City Bowl just down the road from us in Nashville on December 30th at 4 p.m., that going on at Nissan Stadium where the Tennessee Titans play. We'll talk about them later this hour as well. But this Cardinals team taking on a Mississippi State team that, to be quite frank, I don't know all the details about this club, but for Louisville to go 7-5 this year, after going 3-9 a year ago, I think Cardinals fans, if I was a Cardinals fan today, I think I would have to be pretty impressed with what Coach Satterfield and this team that he assembled to get this team going. This year in ACC play, the Cardinals actually look like, a team that wanted to win ball games. A year ago, they just flat out quit in many games. It didn't even look like they were ready out of the tunnel in a few occasions a season ago. This year, they look like they were ready to go, played tough through at least 3 quarters in every single game, had a close one against Notre Dame in the beginning part of the season. There was a couple of mismatches, Clemson in particular, but other games this season, whether it be at home or on the road, the Cardinals were fighting, and you have to appreciate that if you are a Cardinals fan going into this season, for the fact that, yes, you're back in a bowl game, and, hey, this is only year 1, people. 7-5. Where is this Cardinals team going to be at here in the future? The Kentucky Wildcats has some things going on. It was between them, Tennessee deciding they didn't want to play in Nashville against Louisville. So instead of playing in the Gator Bowl, Kentucky was kind of shuffled out yesterday. And so Tennessee is playing in the Gator Bowl. Kentucky will be playing in the Belk Bowl, which, if you're a Wildcats fan, I don't know how excited you are for this matchup compared to where you were going there in the Gator Bowl. But Kentucky will play Indiana out of the Big Ten. And, of course, I guess there is some history between these two teams, whether it be, I say more on the basketball side. Of course, there is that proximity thing that they are relatively close to one another. What is it, 3 hours between the two schools? Maybe 4 hours. So, I mean, there is that. But if you're a Wildcats fan, are you excited for this matchup? You should be. I mean, the 4th straight appearance in a bowl games for Mark Stoops in this club. So you do have that going for you. So I think Kentucky Wildcats fans, after finishing the year 7-5, I think that the Wildcats should be pleased with where they're at. Going to a bowl game, taking on Indiana in the Belk Bowl. Yeah, maybe the Belk Bowl wasn't the destination where you wanted to go, but hey, be happy with where this team is. If there is one thing to look forward to next year, is the 2020 recruiting class. I've seen and heard a lot of good things about where this team is going next year. And, of course, we'll get into that the beginning part of next season. But just let's talk about this Indiana matchup. Indiana's a team that's much improved this season. So if Kentucky shows up and acts like they don't want to be there, they're going to lose. I'm telling you right now, they are going to lose. Last year, you know, they kept it close in their bowl game. If Kentucky shows up against this Indiana team and acts like they don't want to be there and doesn't dominate the line of scrimmage immediately, getting the ground game established like they have been all season long, Indiana will win this game, mark my words. So Mark Stoops and this Wildcats team and the fan base, they all need to get over the fact they're not playing in the Gator Bowl and focus on this Indiana club in the Belk Bowl, because I'm telling you, you sleep on them, they will beat you. Western Kentucky also going to a bowl game, and I think if you asked Hilltoppers fans, where do you think this team ends up? I think a lot of fans may have said 500, especially after losing to Central Arkansas in the beginning part of the season. But to finish the season 8-4, beating Arkansas, Southern Miss, and then also Middle Tennessee to close out the season. 3 straight, I mean, those are all quality wins for the most part. Even though Middle Tennessee was down this year, still a good win. So to finish out the season the way that they did, all I got to say is look out, Conference USA. Because now that you have Lane Kiffin leaving Florida Atlantic for Mississippi, who, by the way, they were the Conference USA champions this past weekend, Florida Atlantic was. I think it's going to be wide open for Western Kentucky to sneak back in there next year. Hey, why not? You have Florida Atlantic, who has had some quality players on that team. Now they lose Lane Kiffin, who's an offensive mastermind. I think it's going to be wide open in Conference USA play next year. And I think, once again, Western Kentucky will be right there in it. My only concern is the coaching situation. And what I mean by that, Tyson Helton. Does he get an offer from somewhere else if Western Kentucky gets 9, 10, 11 wins next year? That is the concern. Because the rebound that he had for this football program after a year ago, nobody would have guessed this team going 8-4. Getting to a bowl game, and now getting set to focus on Western Michigan in the First Responder Bowl. I don't know. That's going to be one of those situations next year where Hilltoppers fans better appreciate Tyson Helton now, because I don't know how much longer, if he gets this team into the Conference USA Championship game next year, how much longer he's going to be there. He may get some offers at the end of next season if he improves off of what he did this year. And then Western Kentucky will have to go back to doing what they've always done, search for the next big name that's going to lead the program and continue the string of appearances in the Conference USA Championship game, bowl appearances, and what that fan base down in Bowling Green expects. And that's, let's be honest, they've gotten accustomed to 10, 11, maybe 12 game win seasons. That's just the way it is down in Bowling Green now. So the 3 major programs here in the state of Kentucky go into a bowl game after all the bowl games were announced yesterday. So that's the big news. in the college football scene. Tennessee Titans, they were in action yesterday and rattled off their fourth straight victory. This team was one game below 500 at one point, 4-5, and they have rattled off four straight to improve their record to 8-5, and now tied at first place with the Houston Texans in the AFC South Division. They defeated the Oakland Raiders yesterday, who fell below 500, 42-21. It was a big game. Just looking at some of the stats, Ryan Tannehill, man, hasn't he really taken over Nashville since being thrown into this organization? 21 of 27 yesterday, 391 yards. Yes, almost 400 yards through the air. 3 touchdowns. Did have that one interception, but it didn't matter. Tennessee just took over that game. Derrick Henry went over the century mark again. 18 carries, 103 yards, averaged 5.7 per carry. 2 touchdowns yesterday. Tennessee Titans are rolling right now, people. The way this year started, you just thought it was going to be a roller coaster ride once again. But 4 straight victories, 8-5, tied atop the AFC South Division with the Houston Texans, who basically flopped against the Denver Broncos yesterday. Is this Titans team going to win the AFC South and make some noise in the playoffs this year? Mike Vrabel has this team playing at a very intense level. And they still have the Texans twice to wrap up this the month of December. And you would have to expect them to win at least one of those, because one of them is going to be at home, obviously. 8-5 right now. You know you have 3 more games to go. I think it's realistic to say that the Titans can win at least 2 of their next 3 ball games, improve to 10-6. And hey, we could have a first-place tie, and they could have to go to a tiebreaker between the Texans and the Titans when it's all said and done. We'll have to see. Tennessee Titans winning big, 42-21. Receiving numbers yesterday. A.J. Brown is becoming a go-to wide receiver for this club. 5 receptions, 153 yards through the air. That's an average of just over 30 yards per catch. Had 2 touchdowns as well. As he's becoming one of those guys that fantasy owners are really appreciating. But Henry, Brown now in the receiving game, and Ryan Tannehill slinging the ball all over the place, looking good at this point in the season. This is when you want to play your best football. Obviously. You know, you can kind of skate by and try to find your identity, try to figure things out. But Mike Vrabel making the decision to put Ryan Tannehill as the guy under center for his club, especially knowing Marcus Mariota was basically the face of the franchise, that was a bold move. That was a bold move by Mike Vrabel, knowing that if Ryan Tannehill didn't succeed, that obviously there would be a huge backlash. But now that Ryan Tannehill is showing that he can make some big-time plays, now the Titans moving forward have a situation. Do they keep Ryan Tannehill, trade Marcus Mariota, or do you somehow try to trade up and get a quarterback in next year's draft? That's a situation right now where I think the front office is going to have some major decision making they'll have to make, especially and once the postseason's over with. Where do they want to go? Do they want to try to push up and move up and grab a quarterback high in this year's draft, knowing that there is a couple of big names coming out of college football? Or do they think Ryan Tannehill is the guy because all he's done since joining the organization and being a starter for the Titans this season is win? Like, that's all he's doing right now is just winning. But for how long will this continue? If you're a Titans fan, you're asking that question. How long will this continue for our franchise with Ryan Tannehill, who, let's be honest, it was a dumpster fire down in Miami. Granted, Miami as an organization has been just a disaster over the years anyway. But Ryan Tannehill making a name for himself in Nashville with the Titans. 21 of 27 yesterday, 391 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he'll take that kind of productivity every Sunday. But how long will this continue? Will he keep winning? Titans, 4-game winning streak. Gotta love it. Let's hope they keep it rolling on. You can hear Titans football right here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM as well, each and every Sunday with Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis. Well, once again, coming up, I have the head basketball coaches for your 17th district defending champion head coaches. John Hardin's Jared McCurry coming up in the next segment. I still have Donnie Sweeney later this hour as well. They'll be joining me on the phone line as we're going to talk some high school basketball and dive into the boys and the girls side. Of course, this week we have a couple of matchups. We have John Hardin and LaRue County on the girls side tomorrow night in Radcliffe. You'll be able to catch that action with a 7:30 p.m. tip-off here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, and we will live stream it on ESPN Radio 1061.com. And Friday, we'll end the work week on a solid note of boys basketball over in Cecilia with the Central Hardin Bruins, who will be hosting the Elizabethtown Panthers, who scored 98 points over the weekend. Well, again, we'll talk about that coming up here in the next segment, the boys' side, and then we'll talk the girls' side in segment 3 as well. It's Heartland Sports Live, and once again, we're on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM. We live stream every show on ESPN Radio 1061.com. And again, go and the show will be uploaded on the Apple Podcast link that I have on my Twitter account. Give me a follow at Radio Trevor Rice, and you can go and download and listen back to every show on the go. Again, that's at Radio Trevor Rice. Heartland Sports Live continues with Jared McCurry, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs. That interview is coming at you right after the break.
Hey, this is Ryan Lemon from Kentucky Sports Radio, and you're listening to Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
And welcome back into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we are live streaming ESPN Radio 1061.com. As I have on the phone line with me right now, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs, still undefeated to this point in the season as we are 1 week in. Jared McCurry joins us now. Coach, so far things have been as I think what you guys expect, and that's to go out and dominate, right?
Well, we had some good opponents this week. I didn't think we were going to dominate the way we did because, two of those teams are in the top 4 of their region. Our kids just came out and had good starts to the game and were able to finish them off throughout the game. And they play extremely hard, and it showed in those 3 games.
What has allowed you guys to be consistent over the last few years?
I just think it's a leadership we've had in the program. The older guys just teaching the young guys how we do things and in practice and off the court, that it's just carried over, and they do a good job.
Obviously, you look at last year, that is one of those unicorn seasons that happens rarely in our state. Obviously, the expectations are still there this year, but what does John Hardin basketball look like this year compared to what it was a season ago?
We lost 4 great seniors from last year's team and 3 really good guards that understood the game and knew what to do out on the court. They were coaches on the court. This year's team's similar. We're probably a tad quicker than we were last year, but we still have some kids learning the game and need to get better at that. I think this year's team, we're a little bit deeper. We can go 9 or 10 guys and not drop off too bad. So a little bit deeper, but we still have a long way to go if we want to be as good as we were last year.
I felt like when your bench players came in, you guys really didn't lose a step. How is your bench this year compared to last year?
Well, the guys coming off the bench this year are really good scorers and have good quickness. Darius Williams and Jalen Tice at the guard position. I think Jalen, he's hit 3 or 4 threes every game in these first 3 games, so he can really shoot it, and Darius can really handle it and get to the bucket. And then you got guys like our 2 seniors, J.R. Montgomery and Jalen Kennard, that understand their roles, rebounding and defense. So as long as you get these guys to understand their roles, you can be successful.
You have some seniors on this club who have pretty much been there the entire stretch for your guys' program. But one thing that I've noticed and heard about is Alex Matthews really developing his game, more of a distant shooter as opposed to where he was down low all the time a year ago. Talk about that a little bit.
Right. Last year towards the end of the season, he was starting to shoot mid-range and some threes, and he's really worked on that, and especially his ball handling too. So you'll see him bring it up a lot and be able to create not just for himself but for others. And he's shooting a lot more threes than he ever has and doing a good job. The first game he had 29 points, double-digit rebounds, and 8 assists.
So, yeah, he's definitely up in his game. You guys took on Christian County over the weekend in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame Classic. What did you like from your team in that one, and what allowed you to be so successful early on?
Going in, watching film on Christian County, we were concerned with their press and how they gotten off well on teams and scoring the ball. I think they scored 80 points, close to it, both games. So I was just glad the way we handled the ball early and the start we got. That's been really important, not just that game, but these first 3 games we've gotten off to really good starts, and it's just carried over throughout the game.
Seems like the 17th district this season on the boys' side is going to be a little more challenging. It seems like E-Town's right in there. They have some threats from beyond the arc. You also have Central Hardin, who's bringing a lot of experience back. What does the 17th district look like compared to a season ago?
Well, the 17th district's always tough. You have some very good teams and great coaches throughout the district, but you have some experience back from last year's teams with E-Town, Central, and North Hardin. So these guys are going to be better, more confident in what they do, and more familiar with what their coaches want. So it's going to be a dogfight throughout the year.
Jared McCurry, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. Coming up, you have Fort Knox this week. You have Owensboro Catholic coming up as well. Central Hardin on the 17th, North Hardin on the 20th. What do you expect out of these last few matchups, and what do you need to see from your team improvement-wise in practice to really get going and have a strong start to add on to what you've already done this season?
Yeah, we got a tough stretch coming up. District games, they're always difficult because teams are more familiar with your players and what you like to do. So it's always tough, difficult games, and we're just going to have to see where this team's at and how we respond to it. We got a tough stretch of games during the Christmas time too. So we're going to see what our team's about here in the next few weeks.
Jared McCurry joining us here on Heartland Sports Live as we look forward to seeing you guys later on this season. I know we're going to call a few of your games, Coach, and it's always going to be fun. I know you guys are going to have your boys ready, and we always look forward to it, and I thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Jared McCurry there, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. As we look at their body of work up until this point, we're 1 week in here in basketball play, and they're already 3-0, winning 93-63 against Bryan Station on December 3rd. Then on the 6th, last Friday, taking on University Heights, winning 81-44, and then they took on at Central Hardin High School on Saturday Christian County in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame Classic, and won big once again by the score of 76-29. Of course, they bring back a lot of leadership from a season ago. 4 seniors overall on this year's roster, which include Jalen Kennard, also Alex Matthews, who's going to be one of the big playmakers for this team this season. And one thing I like about Alex is he always stays out of foul trouble, first of all. He's aggressive, but still somehow manages to stay out of foul trouble. He's able to be aggressive down low, and he is now evolving as a shooter, as he can shoot now mid-range and a little further out. And in today's basketball game, you have to be able to do that if you want to get the attention of some major universities. So he has taken the steps to become a mid-range to outside shooter, and I think that's going to pay huge dividends for this John Hardin program moving forward, even though Alex Matthews has been one of those guys to really dominate down low over his tenure with the John Hardin Bulldogs program. Lawrence Montgomery, another senior on this team, and then you have Devontae Stone and Preston Merrill, who will get plenty of minutes this season as well. But one of the main question marks for me coming into this season was the bench, because you lose players like Darion Davis off of last year's team, and now you have to basically restock one of the best pieces, I guess you could say. I mean, you had Devin Rogers coming off the bench too. Now he's a starter, so you have to replace two solid players like that, and obviously, Devin Rogers is starting now, being a sophomore, but you were kind of curious where this team was going to be, and I think that Coach McCurry is confident enough in his team that he has the pieces there that they'll keep strong here in the coming days and weeks, as the next several matchups, three of them being in 17th District play against Fort Knox coming up tomorrow, Owensboro Catholic on the 14th, and then Central Hardin next week, which that'll be a home game, and then an away game in Radcliffe there, taking on Michael Kofer's North Hardin Trojans on December 20th. So that's what's to come for John Hardin basketball. Let's take a look at all the other 17th District boys teams real quick. I just mentioned Central Hardin so far on the season. They are 1-2, 2 losses to South Oldham and lost to North Bullitt over the weekend on Saturday in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame Classic, losing 78-64, losing to South Oldham pretty handily, 85-47. Back on Thursday. So a tough outing over the last couple of games for this team, even though they did get that 63-46 victory over Nelson County. Where does Matt Nichols' team go moving forward? Because on the way, they have Marion County tomorrow. They have Elizabethtown this week. That's always going to be a tough one, as that will be at home on Friday. And then they take on John Hardin next week, and then they'll wrap up basically the non-tournament action of December with Hart County out of the 18th District on December 20th, before going into the King of the Smokies tournament in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, December 27th, 28th, and the 30th. So that's what's to come for Central Hardin. Hopefully they can get back on that winning streak coming up, because they're going to be welcoming a tough Elizabethtown team who just scored 98 points on Saturday. So they are coming in very focused. Their first game of the season on Saturday, 1-0, defeating Washington County pretty convincingly, 98-31. That was not even close. As you just look at some of the numbers on Saturday, you had 5 players get into double digits on the score tally. Cam Sherrard had 18. Kaya Sherrard had 16. Jaquias Franklin had 15. Matthew Pinkham had 12. And Camden Williams had 10. So you have 5 players who reached double digits or more there in or double figures, 10 points or more on Saturday. They have a lot of shooters on this E-Town club, and they bring back a lot of experience too with a lot of those players. In fact, a lot of those guys I just mentioned were starters a year ago, so that's the kind of experience we're talking when you look at this Elizabethtown squad and what James Hare has in his arsenal for this 2019-2020 basketball season. Other teams, real quick, as we look at North Hardin High School, they have gotten off to a slow start, starting off the season 0-3 as they lost to Oldham County last week, Moore and Clinton County over the weekend on Saturday by the score of 54-44 on Saturday. They lost to Moore. So they are keeping a couple of these games close, even though they did lose to Oldham County 71-45. But the consistency just isn't there yet, and you saw the struggles a year ago. The style of play they're trying to go at right now maybe isn't meshing with what the roster is out on the floor, but maybe here over the next couple of games they can get a couple of wins together, build the confidence, and maybe start to string along a few victories, because they have Warren East coming up. They're going to need to, because they're going to be away over the next 4 ball games. Warren East coming up tomorrow, Fort Knox this week. They played Taylor County on Saturday, Bullitt Central coming up next week, and then John Hardin coming up next week as well. That'll be finally their home game. But 4 away games over their next stretch. And they've started out the season 0-3, so they're going to need to get this thing rolling. Otherwise, they could spell some gloom and doom here in the early portion of December. You want to get out of December at least 500 if you're North Hardin, and so far the struggles have been there. Fort Knox, as we wrap up our 17th District boys basketball side of things this hour, they have started off the season 0-3 as well, losing to Caverna in Game 1, 67-59. Taylor County on Thursday, 83-49, and then on Saturday losing to Louisville Collegiate by the score of 72-49. They have John Hardin coming. It doesn't get any easier. They have John Hardin coming up tomorrow, North Hardin coming up this week, and then they have Beth Haven, Portland Christian, a couple of games that I think they can stay in. Elizabethtown, North Hardin coming up in January. So, I mean, once you start to get into 17th District play, if you're Fort Knox, it's going to be much challenging, as it seems like they're always on the under when it comes to these ball games. Just not the roster to compete with some of these area teams. It's challenging. If you're in the 17th District, it is very challenging for teams to get victories. Even the best teams over the last couple of years. John Hardin, they went undefeated a year ago, but it's not like they just cruised on right to that undefeated season. They had teams like Elizabethtown and Central Hardin really trying to knock them off, as everybody was trying to knock off John Hardin from that undefeated streak. Unfortunately, it didn't happen until the first round of the boys' Sweet 16. So, yeah, let's see where the 17th District play goes moving forward, because I think Central Hardin, even though they've dropped a couple of here, they still have a lot of experience. North Hardin still has some experience coming back. E-Town has all of those seniors. I don't know. I feel like that the 17th District teams are going to beat each other up this season. I just feel like that's just going to happen. And you'll be able to hear a lot of the games here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we will live stream also on ESPNRadio1061.com. And speaking of boys basketball, we will have our first boys game this Friday over in Cecilia, as the Central Hardin Bruins will host the Elizabethtown Panthers. That should be a fun one. Tip-off will be at 7:30 p.m., and again, you can catch all the action on 106.1 FM and the live stream on ESPNRadio1061.com. Well, we've talked to one defending 17th District champion, from a coach from a year ago, in the John Hardin Bulldogs with Jared McCurry. How about the girls' side with Donnie Sweeney? We'll have him coming up here on the flip side of this break, as we'll look at Elizabethtown Lady Panthers basketball to this point in the season, as Heartland Sports Live will continue on 106.1 ESPN Radio, and you can go and download and listen to every show on the Apple Podcast link on my Twitter account at Radio Trevor Rice. More Heartland Sports Live after this.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Mike Keith, voice of the Tennessee Titans, and you're listening to Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 on the AM side. Also, we are live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com. We've talked boys 17th District basketball. Let's get into the girls' side of things by welcoming the coach of the defending 17th District champs for the last few years, Donnie Sweeney, who his club got their first victory of the season on Saturday against Walton Verona, winning 61-27. Donnie Sweeney joins us now. Coach, thank you for your time, and congrats on the win. Talk about it a little bit. How was it?
Thanks for having me, Trevor. I appreciate it. And, we've kind of put a renewed emphasis on by no means are we where we need to be. Very pleased with how we played defensively Saturday night. I thought that was kind of the difference in the game, the second and third quarters especially. We played man-to-man for a change and see how that carries out for us. We're going to play a little more man-to-man than we normally do. We've been known as a zone team over the last few years. We may be playing a little more man-to-man this year.
Let's talk about your reserves, your bench, because it seems like you've always been healthy there. But I had some question marks coming into this season about your bench. How do you feel? Because you have your starting five, and then I'm going to be honest with you, I think you have a bunch of players who really haven't seen a whole lot of play time other than maybe extra minutes when you guys have blown teams out.
Well, we've got some that actually have seen some minutes, and what I was worried about with our bench, we've had lost two of our guards that would be backups to ACL injuries, and that's hurt us a little bit as far as our depth goes. But I just think we've still got some other people that can step up and help us out and contribute when they step on the floor.
What's going to be the difference this year offensively compared to last year? I have a feeling we're still going to see a deep threat with Whitney Hay, but what does the offense look like? Is there any difference from a year ago?
Well, I think the Freeman kid is eligible this year. She's a difference maker with her speed, with her quickness, and she just kind of controls the pace of the game just almost by herself. Not completely, but she can handle the ball. She can play defense, and she gets us where we need to be offensively. And she's going to be somebody that is going to give us what we need. Another element of speed, another ball handler, because right now we could probably go 4, 5, 6 point guards, and I think that's going to make us more versatile. And I think that's a big key for this team is the versatility of because we got so many people that can play different spots.
Yeah, it seemed like a couple of occasions last year you either had Ellie Taylor or Whitney Hay, just somebody else bringing the basketball up. You mentioned Kara Freeman. She does seem like that person that you can trust with the basketball and making smart decisions. So from that standpoint, does it make it easier for the other players on the team, knowing that they just need to get set up in place and shoot from there?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who we outlet the ball to. We got any number of kids that can bring the ball up the floor and get us in what we want to run. And it's not just all going to be on Kayra to bring it up. It's not just all going to be on Ellie to bring it up. It's not all going to be on Whitney. It's going to be spread around, and I think that it helps ease some of the pressure on some of them.
Donnie Sweeney, the head basketball coach of the Elizabethtown Lady Panthers, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. Let's talk about the 17th District this season. What do you expect here in the district this year compared to last? Some new looks. I think Central's going to be on the up. North Hardin's still undefeated at this point, 3-0. What do you expect in district play here in this 2019-2020 season?
Well, Central is better. They played a really good team. Very, very close ball game the other day at the Hall of Fame Classic, and they're better. And there's definitely somebody that's going to have to be reckoned with. And John Hardin is looking better than what they did last year so far, and North's off to a good start. And Coach Hooper's done a good job up there in her short time that she's been the head coach. And I think any of the four can make hay throughout the entire season. I don't think there's anything that's going to be given. Everything's going to have to be earned.
and I think it's good for our district to become more competitive.
You'll get into 5th region play against Nelson County coming up tomorrow night. What do you think about this matchup? How do you think your girls will perform?
Well, I'm hoping that our speed can be a big difference maker for us. Hopefully we can get them to turn the ball over some and get some good, easy, quick buckets and get out, and hopefully we can make some shots from there, and then kind of be able to, when we have to set something up, be able to execute. But they're a little better than they were last year. This is their coach's second year, so they've all kind of been there, and they've got a couple of nice young players that are coming along and getting better every day as well.
This year's roster is senior loaded, a bunch of seniors who have been battle tested throughout the years. Are you feeling pretty confident with this group moving forward?
Well, I mean, they are battle tested. They've seen the highs and they've seen the lows, and hopefully, we can lean on their leadership and their experience to keep us from getting to those lows again, and they can pick us up and carry us when that time comes. And based on their experience, I would think that they know what is expected in those big-time situations.
Donnie Sweeney joining us here on Heartland Sports Live, and we're going to be calling a few of your games this season, Coach, as we get deeper and deeper in. But I want to thank you for your time. Congrats on the win on Saturday, and we hope to see it going.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it.
Donnie Sweeney, the head basketball coach of the Elizabethtown Lady Panthers, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live right there as they won on Saturday. Let's go ahead and look at that Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame Classic for the girls' side, as it was Boyd County defeating Central Hardin by the score of 60-55. North Hardin ended up holding off in a low-scoring affair, a defensive slugfest is what some may call it, winning 34-31 over Christian County on Saturday. Then it was Meade County defeating John Hardin by the score of 63-57. And then in the nightcap, it was E-Town versus Walton Verona, getting a solid victory. 61-27 was the final score, as Donnie Sweeney's club on their opener goes to 1-0. And, of course, they're the defending 17th District champs. And we'll call a few of their games, as we're going to have, coming up tomorrow night, John Hardin in action. They'll be taking on LaRue County out of the 18th District. That game will tip off at 7:30 tomorrow night. You'll catch that right here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 on the AM side, and we will live stream it on ESPN Radio 1061.com. Then Friday, like I was saying earlier, the boys will be tipping off with Central and E-Town at 7:30. But the girls' side, let's go ahead and look at that because, well, we have a couple of teams struggling. North Hardin, like I said, is still undefeated at this point, 3-0, as we're just going to go ahead and pull them up real quick, as North Hardin, we called their game on Friday night against Western Hills. That was a close one. Western Hills came back. North Hardin was leading by as many as 17 points at one point in that game, and Western Hills clawed back there late, but then some late free throws helped North Hardin secure the victory as they won 52-44. They defeated LaRue County. North Hardin did last week as well, last Tuesday, 65-37, and then on Saturday defeating Christian County at Elizabethtown High School, 34-31. As we look at some of the scoring rundowns, Zariah Rupp led all scorers for North Hardin with 10 points. Jadeda Gregory had 9 on the night. Addison Sutton had 7, and Ella Scherer had 5 points for North Hardin on Friday night. As combined, they had 38 total rebounds. Struggled from the field, only 10 of 37 on Saturday for North Hardin. 27% from the field, 4 of 11 from three-point range, but it was still somehow good enough to win the ball game. Once again, 34-31. We talked about Elizabethtown. They are 1-0 on the season. Central Hardin, they are at 500 right now. They played a couple of games last week. They played Nelson County Tuesday, excuse me. They played Nelson County and won 63-45. They played Boyd County and lost on Saturday. Like I said, 60-55. Let's look at some of the scoring rundowns for Central Hardin in that game real quick, if I can get it to load. Website's going to cooperate with me now. 32% from the field, almost 33%. Not a very good night shooting for Central Hardin, the Lady Bruins, on Saturday. They went 4 of 15 from beyond the arc. Emily Bryant led all scorers with 21 points on the night. Monica Lindsay had 14, and Alyssa Lindsay had 7 for the Lady Bruins on Saturday. For John Hardin, they are still winless on the season. They're still trying to find that first W, and maybe it'll come tomorrow night. They beat LaRue County a year ago down in Hodgenville by the score of 59-40. Can they get their first W tomorrow night? And because they've lost a couple straight here to start out the season, losing to Grayson County last week 69-56, and then losing to Meade County 63-57 on Saturday. Some of the scoring, well, you also got to figure in there's a new coach, Nicole Coleman, taking over the helm of that program from where they were last year. So this is her first year. This is her first games with this unit. So give her some time, and I feel like she can turn that program around. We've already seen them be a little more consistent and seeing them really battle in these games here in the early portion of this season so far. But on Saturday, they went 38% from the field, 23 of 60 from 2 and 3 point range combined, 7 of 23 from beyond the arc. A little inconsistent there, but maybe they can pick up that stat line as the games progress and get a little better and shake off that rust a little bit. Sharon Tidwell had 18 points for John Hardin on Saturday in the loss. Brooke Graham had 18 as well, and so it was a close game, another close loss, and we'll see if John Hardin, like I said, can pick up their first victory as they take on LaRue County tomorrow night. LaRue County struggling here in the early going of this season as they lost to North Hardin last week, and then they did pick up a victory against Moore in the Corky Cox Classic on Saturday. As we look at their stat line real quick, as Natalie Gentry had 14 points, leading all scorers for the Lady Hawks. Paige Evans had 11, and Bella Thurman also reaching double digits on the score tally, having 10 on Saturday. 38% from the field is where LaRue County shot against, again, Moore, the Mustangs, on Saturday. So John Hardin, LaRue County, our game tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. You can catch all the action here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 on the AM side, and we will live stream it on ESPN Radio 1061.com. Let's check out Fort Knox real quick. Of course, they've been a struggling program here in recent history, but they've been competitive in a couple of games so far. They lost to Caverna by the score of 50-36 back last week. Also last week, a couple of other games they played too. In 5th region play, they took on Taylor County and lost in a very close one, 42-40, and then lost to Louisville Collegiate 49-43 on Saturday. Overall, 0-3. They'll take on North Hardin coming up. They'll take on North Oldham, LaRue County, Beth Haven before the holiday break. Still 4 games to come, and maybe they can pick up a victory in there as well. And so a couple of teams in the 17th district struggling. John Hardin. Yeah, you have Fort Knox struggling right now. Central Hardin at 500. North Hardin looking pretty good, 3-0. 3 games last week and winning all 3. That's pretty impressive, especially when you're coming back, from all that time off, and you're trying to get adjusted to what your coaches want. And Whitney Hooper doing a heck of a job up there in Radcliffe, coaching those Lady Trojans up as they are now 3-0. Again, our game tomorrow night, John Hardin, LaRue County, 7:30 p.m. tip-off, 106.1 FM, 1400 AM, and you can catch the live stream on ESPN Radio 1061.com. And Friday, we'll end the work week with the boys' side of things for the first time this season, as it will be the Central Hardin Bruins hosting the Elizabethtown Panthers. Tip-off on that game will be at 7:30 p.m. Same story, 106.1 FM, 1400 AM, and ESPN Radio 1061.com. So that's what's come this week. I want to thank Jared McCurry, the head basketball coach of the John Hardin Bulldogs, for joining me this hour. Donnie Sweeney, this segment here for the E-Town Lady Panthers. and you as well, as Heartland Sports Live will come back at you next Monday. Yes, 5 until 6. We'll talk more Hardin County basketball. We'll get closer and closer to bowl season, and you just never know what else we may talk about here on Heartland Sports Live. Trevor Rice with you. So glad you have been with me for the past hour. Until next Monday, enjoy the sports week, everybody.